Oh, good morning. It is the hour of 3. Would you like to join me for a cup of tea? I would like to discuss Nancy Guthrie. Okay. Good morning, all. Now, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Sax Francisco. I am a clairvoyant medium in Canada. I want to give you trigger warning. This live is to discuss the case of Nancy Guthrie. Okay, now I want to talk about mediumship messages that I have received. But again, issuing a trigger warning. I do not want to upset anyone. I do not want to scare anyone. And I just want to do that warning. So I'm going to just wait a moment, gather my energy here for a moment, and let you all just come in for a moment. Let me know where you are all coming from. Have you been following the Nancy Guthrie case? I'm sure that if you have heard of it, there's a lot of speculation, of course, as to what has happened. And there's obviously a lot of concern. It's not every day that an 84-year-old woman goes missing. So this is unique to, I believe, just kind of new discoveries. Now, listen, I want to just talk about why I'm even going live. Okay, now I'm very new on lives. I'm going to say hello to all of you. I don't know really how to operate this extremely well, so don't mind me. Okay, have you been following the Nancy Guthrie case? I want to talk about a recap on something that happened here in my home last Wednesday night. I had been doing mediumship all day long, and by about 7:30 p.m., Nancy Guthrie was standing in my bedroom. And she appeared to me, and I'm going to do a recap. This is a recap of a video that I've already put up. The first video I did on Nancy Guthrie. It was put up on March 26 or 27 on this TikTok page at Sacred Sax, and it's also loaded on my YouTube channel, Sax Francisco Clairvoyant Medium. I would really appreciate your insight and input into some of the things I'm going to share with you. Okay, so I'm clairvoyant and a medium. Okay, clairvoyance will help you with things like remote viewing, if you're trying to even find a person, sometimes even belongings. It can take you into the future. It can take you into the past. It can even take you into people's personalities. Okay, for instance, I can read photographs and I could tell you about the personality of the person, even if I've never met them, okay? So clairvoyance will give you insight and vision into practically every aspect of life, okay, and the living. What mediumship is mediumship is the direct communication between a medium and a spirit. Now, some mediums will give different impressions of how they are getting their information. For me, I got to be really strict on confirming and stating I do not just channel spirit, okay? When we're clairvoyant, there's visions. When you're clairsentient, there's feelings. There's a state of knowing with clairsentience. You might not be getting a vision, but you are getting a whole lot of information that it's like your gut feelings. Sometimes it's emotions. Sometimes it's even illnesses or pain that you might feel. Okay, so clairvoyance and clairsentience can kind of work with each other. Very, very acute skills. Very, very wonderful to have as tools. Mediumship, direct communication with spirit. Here's where I see things a little differently. I know a lot of mediums, but not all of them will discuss whether or not they're actually seeing spirits. A lot of mediums will see things in their third eye. It will still be very accurate information. They will still get, whether it's a father versus a grandfather, maybe a name, etc., 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 about, someone deceased. For me, I must say, I see spirit, okay? I do not spirit out of the blue. What happens with me is spirit is coming into my space. They are showing themselves to me. I can see anything from color of hair to what they're wearing. I can see what's on their mind. I can see who they're concerned about. And if I'm working with the spirit that's really in the room, it is always a telepathic communication, okay? And if you want to watch any of my lives in the future or the past, I do lives on Facebook Friday nights. They're called Free Spirit. And what I do is I'll just channel messages, whether they are clairvoyant or mediumship related. Now, when I'm working with the spirit and they are truly in my space, okay, it is telepathic. And when you're watching me do my lives, you will notice that I'll have these phases where I'm like, okay, right, all right, okay. And I'm just going back and forth on repeating something like that. And it can go on for a while. It's going on for a while because I am literally hearing that conversation in my head. And as if I were to be sitting with someone in person, if you're speaking with them, you don't really want to speak over them, do you? At least I don't want to. You don't hear as much, right? So I just really want to stress that. My mediumship works that way, okay? You might not hear mediums talk about this, but I like to dissect it so that people really know the many layers that we can have access to, okay? So telepathic communication is very, very important. Another way that information can come through from the spirits when I'm communicating is I will hear it clairaudiently. It will come through my right ear. It will never come through my left. And it can be as strong as doing the telepathic, okay? So I just want to share differences here because there's many layers. And if you want to know true mediums, ask them about that. Ask them about whether they are truly seeing the spirit. How are they gaining their information? Is it telepathic? Is it clairaudient? Is it their feelings? Because it could still be a state of knowing, and they're channeling through a state of knowing, but they are not talking to a medium. They're not talking to the spirit. So anyway, there's just little idiosyncrasies. So I want to now talk about Nancy Guthrie, and I'm seeing that people have joined, and I can't quite see how many people are making comments. I'm not quite... Well, I'm just so new at this, so bear with me. Okay, so if anybody would like to discuss this as I go along, please feel free to send me some messages. Okay, so this is what I'm getting. Okay, I want to go back to Nancy Guthrie appearing to me on March 26th. Okay, now, first thing, and there's reasons I want to reiterate because there have been things that have happened since then. Okay, so she appears to me. She's wearing white. She's in my bedroom. She's standing in front of me, and she is drawing my attention on a telepathic level to her hands. She is standing in front of me, and her hands are open like this, and I am seeing red dirt in her hands, and she is communicating to me that she wants me to see her hands. I see red soil, red dirt in her hands, and I am then watching red soil and red dirt drop to the earth. And what I am learning at this point is she is in the earth. Okay, so God rest her soul. I'm going to say she is in the earth. This is what she's showing me. And I believe that she appeared during this week because it is possible that people can find her body where it is buried. Okay, and I want to give this information. I am in Canada. I am not in Arizona. I've been to Arizona once. Don't ask me anything about it. Too long ago. But I am hoping that someone from Arizona will see this and may identify with some of the information that is coming forward. Okay, so after I see soil in her hands dropping to the earth, and I'm being told that she is in the earth, I believe there's time to find her. And what she's showing me is, number one, she was taken north. Okay, so from her home, she was taken in the direction going north. Number 2 that she tells me is she's been taken 23 minutes away from her home, okay? And if that means she's gone north 23 minutes, my first impression when I'm hearing this from her is that that was the first location the kidnappers took her, okay? 23 minutes north. So if you want to do a GPS, for instance, and she's on, I believe, Skyline Trail, right? Or Skyline Road. Go 23 minutes in any direction, even if you don't want to believe that north is correct. Go 23 minutes in any direction just in case, but I'm saying north. And if that's the case, I believe I just saw that. Okay, so that's one thing. If you are going 23 minutes north away from Nancy Guthrie's house, what highway are you taking? Are you taking highway, just looking at the GPS, are you taking Interstate 80? Interstate 77, look like they overlap, and that goes up towards Catalina, okay? Now, I know she's in the Catalina foothills, where her home is, but 23 minutes north could take you around Catalina, I believe, okay? But just hold on to that for a moment. I want to go back to some more of the details. Okay, so she's showing me the red soil, and I am believing that she is buried in red soil. Now, anyone that has been to Arizona, you know there's a lot of red soil in Arizona. Okay, but you also have beige soil, sandy soil. Okay, so she is, however, in red soil. So keep that in consideration. What she also shows me is she is in an arid desert. She is in a place where when you look in each direction from her body, she's giving me the phrase, looks alike, looks alike. Everything looks the same, rather, looks the same, okay? So everywhere she looks, that part of the desert, it looks the same in every direction. When I'm looking at that, I'm also hearing mesa. Mesa being repeated in my head over and over. And when I'm hearing mesa, I do not believe it's a city. I believe it is terrain, because when I'm hearing it, I'm still seeing desert. So I believe she is still trying to lead me to a type of terrain, okay? And for anybody who knows what mesa terrain is like, you would agree that there's probably not every corner of the desert that is this type of terrain. So just another hint when we're looking at the terrain. Now, just researching my notes here. Now, when, during the first visit, she was still present, I was asking her, can your body be recovered? Can you be recovered? And what she flashed me, and I'm sorry, trigger warning, I'm going to just describe what I'm seeing in a vision. This is the image she gave me. For being in the earth and buried, I am still getting an impression that this is a shallow burial. I'm getting the impression that when I'm standing looking at her, she's giving me a vision of what it looks like. I believe it's desert brush. Okay, you know how there can be a lot of, here in Canada, even in the little tiny bit of desert we have in Kamloops, we can see a lot of brush sage. Okay, and there's just a lot of things on the highway that is just brush, right? So what she's showing me is looking at where she's been left in the earth. They have used a combination of brush that is available from local right there on site with rocks, okay? So that's the impression that I'm getting. It's desert brush mixed with rocks to cover the body. And when I'm looking at the scene, she is giving me the impression that I see her feet and I see her shins if you're coming up the body, and I see that that is partially exposed. And when I am seeing that, she is wrapped or appearing in royal blue clothing or wrapping that just looks like, to me, it looks like normal fabric. It almost looks like just cotton, to be honest. And okay, one thing she also told me is close to the time she was showing me the soil and drawing my attention to red soil, one thing that she also showed me is she went like this. This is left hand, by the way. You might be seeing it in the opposite. So she was showing me that her left hand was punctured in some way, and that in her grave there is also blood in the soil. Now, I'm sorry, I don't want to get into graphics with all sorts of dark stuff, but I am mentioning it because I do believe there's very reason that spirit is appearing now for this. She can be found. And the fact that there might be blood on her clothing or blood also in the soil is extremely important for search people to know. I don't know how I'm getting that information to them, but I hope this, is something that they can consider, because on forensic level, we are only 60 days out. We don't have a confirmed time of death, even though we could speculate 3,000 different ways. Let's not. But let's just say, forensically, within 60 days of a body being deceased and starting the process of decay and being left in the earth, if there was blood and cadaver fluids entering the soils, this is high time and perfection of time for cadaver dogs and humans. Start walking around in the desert. If she is this shallowly buried, you got to be smelling it from a certain distance there, and wind will carry scents. So she's far enough out that she still has to be around vehicle access. Okay, so if you're from Arizona, and we want to just start taking this really quickly again from the top. Red soil, looking iron rich. Arid desert, looks the same in every direction. Has to have vehicle access. The other consideration she showed me is this is not residential area, so I am no way ever going to tell you she's buried in her neighborhood, as a lot of mediums are trying to say. No, 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 no. She's not in a residential area. She was taken further out, and it really honestly looks a little lonely out there when I'm seeing it. She is not around residences, okay? Okay, now the other thing that she had given me, as a sign in the area for some reason was half of a sunflower, as if you're watching a sunflower be like a sunrise, okay? And with distinct 3D type of sign, okay? This is not on a piece of paper. It's like raised depth to the sunflower petals. And it reminds me of something that's worn and from long ago. And you know, when like beaten up old gas stations just have things falling off of them and you see them rusted and they're like dead in the desert sort of thing. It gives me the impression that this image of the sunflower has fallen off either a building that used to be around or something. So on the rare chance that that's actually really out there, it's still worth mentioning. Okay, so going back to when I asked her, will you be recovered? Can you be recovered? What she showed me again was that vision of her in the ground, and part of her body is exposed, okay? I'm seeing it. Part of her body is exposed. But this is the interesting thing that she mentioned to me. It is going to be because of prairie dogs or coyote, or I hear prairie dog, in fact, okay? Now, remember, I'm from Canada, and I do travel a lot, and I'm always around woods and all sorts of places all around the world, okay? But I'm gonna be really honest here. I heard prairie dog. She's told me that it could be prairie dogs that disturb her sight and leave it exposed. If a coyote is doing that, would a coyote eat a human? I don't even know, to be honest. Maybe I should know, but I don't know. Prairie dogs would not eat humans, for sure. But wouldn't it be amazing if it was as simple as that? Because animals are God's messengers as well, okay? Animals are the fingers of God as the messengers for humans. And they do move by the hands of spirit. So wouldn't it be the most amazing thing if prairie dogs truly uncovered her? And this is the other interesting thing. Afterwards, days after, I started to think about all of this information again. I personally know nothing about prairie dogs. Okay, never seen them, never been around them, never thought of them. And then it made me think, do I have the right information? Am I just getting the wrong information? Is it coyote? Because that's a prairie dog, don't you think? Anyway, I looked it up just to be thorough. And prairie dogs are a real species unto their own. So that phrase is very appropriate, and I'm going to stick with it because I don't even know about prairie dogs until this has been brought into my head. Here's the other thing I found interesting about prairie dogs after I researched them. They're not in every state in the USA at all, but they do happen to be in Arizona. Go figure. So that's the type of information as a medium, when we are totally blank on some knowledge, where we truly don't have it in our own consciousness, and all of a sudden it's in there and we're stuck on it. That is when a medium truly has to honor that is really coming from the spirit, okay? Because I have no reason to know about prairie dogs, but now that I have tuned in and looked at them, they're the cutest little things. And I'd like to know the spiritual meaning of them. We can maybe look at that later. Okay, so I want to continue. That was March 26th when she visited in my home. I'm going on to phase number 2 here that I want to continue. So anything that I've just discussed, it was already in a video. So sorry for the repeat, but in case you didn't see it, I want you to have the information. So moving forward to March 28th. March 28th, I started to replay the video, my first video. And I just started to replay it as I was working in my office, because what is very good about readings that I know for a fact, I always record my readings. I've done it for 30 years. When I go back and listen to a reading that's even for another person, or I've channeled other missing persons, because I do that in Canada regularly, what I will notice is, because you truly have pulled spirit in, and spirit is an energy and it is present with you when you are bringing it in, if you are to record it, what is really remarkable is you've recorded it. It is now encapsulated, okay? It's not any longer just a fleeting moment with spirit. You really have encapsulated it. And this is why in photography, a lot of tribal people around the world don't want you taking their photo, because they know darn well you captured their spirit when you do that, okay? And they don't like that thought. Leave the spirit where the spirit is, okay? So anyway, just with that as the idea, just keep that in mind. You know what, I just read something and I gotta say that I'm gonna keep moving along. Okay, I want to go to March 28th and say again that I was re-listening to the tape, and the reason why I love to do this again is it's kind of like feeling like you're still on the ride with the spirit that originally came in, okay? Like you really can connect to it again. So if there was truly a spirit channeling, you may indeed be able to pull more information again, okay? Even if it was information that you've already heard. Now, this is what happened when I was doing that. All of a sudden, Nancy came in again, and she gave me just one piece of insight that she was aware of in her home. When she came to realize that these two people, there are two people in her home. I'm going to talk about that shortly. She said to me, when I realized these two people could end up killing me, and I could die because of this, I wanted to die in my own home. Okay? So think of it as an 84-year-old woman. My mom is actually the exact same age. And we are trying to do everything to keep her in her home as she is dying. And I hope, my mom just dies in her home. And think of it, considering the health condition of Nancy Guthrie, could that be a very legitimate insight to how she wanted the rest of her life to go? She's already 84. She's having a hard time walking to her own mailbox. The pain in her back is severe, that's an issue. She's been decades in this home, loves the peacefulness of that area. And would that be a true and correct insight that I just want to die in my own, I want to die in my own home. I want to die in my home. So this is the thing though. She did not die in her own home. I know there's speculation where people think she could have died in her own home and they still removed the body, because let's think of it. If she did die in her home, and this was a legitimate kidnapping attempt, you have just lost your commodity. So yeah, maybe you want to take a dead body with you to pretend she's there and see if you can fake out an exchange for money without providing proof of life. Very not happening. So let me put my little conjectures aside for a moment, and I want to go to another impression, because conjecture is one thing. I also want to just stick to the difference between conjecture and message that really comes through, okay? Now, on March 31st, it was my birthday, And I was just sitting here thinking about her because now that I'm hooked, I'm hooked. And this is the next impression that she is giving me. So let's go to talking a little bit about who's in her home. Okay, because we all have seen the assailant that is walking up the path to her home and taking out the doorbell camera. Okay, but she's an 84-year-old woman. She is being kidnapped. There's a man that has this knapsack on camera. When you look at the knapsack, it's full of things. So let me start telling you the impressions that Nancy is giving me on what's going on here. She is showing me that two people are discussing things in her home. And when she's showing me these two figures, we already see one on the camera, so we can ascertain that it's looking like a male. Although on one part of that camera video, where the assailant really is coming closer and closer and closer to the camera, and there's this one angle where you're kind of up close and you're seeing the person's eyebrows. Okay, if you guys want to ever go back to that video, you tell me. There is one angle there that you might be able to convince me that that's a woman. And the reason I'm saying that is, please look at the eyebrows. And please look at how groomed the eyebrows are. Have you seen men with those types of eyebrows? If you have, they're kind of effeminate men. So I just want to kind of give you that to think about. I don't know if it's a woman, but I'm telling you, there was one moment in that video I saw it and I just thought, could that be a woman that has just readjusted some things? Just a thought. But let's go back to this other impression that I'm getting. Two people in the home. It's, you know, for whatever happened in that home, I got to tell you, I would agree. It's kind of quiet in there, okay? And I'm not getting a huge struggle in there either, to be honest. And I know on today's date, there are new videos. Nancy Grace has put something out new today. They're discussing now that law enforcement is saying that things were immaculate in the home. At first they were saying, oh, this is a crime scene. Well, if you knew that someone entered the home, it's a crime scene, that's that. But it gives you that feeling that when you say crime scene, that could be anything. That could be a bloody mess. That could be a freaking nightmare. That could be mess everywhere because she fought, but she's frail. Anyway, let's cut to the chase. I'm not seeing anything like that. And that's the crazy thing. Here's the other thing. People are assuming, as of today's date, the latest video I've seen come out, that back door propped open must have been from the two people. A lot of people are now going, there must have been two people. I see two people. I'm sticking to two people. But here's what I'm going to confirm. She is showing me that two people are in the house, and she is telling me that one person is on comms. So let's go back to the backpack for a second, and we see all these like things in there, and it's a pretty thin knapsack. Okay, so you can see distinctive shapes. Okay, so let's also go to the fact that her phone is disengaged, pacemaker disengaged from phone, all sorts of electronic things going on, whether the Ring camera disengaged, her phone disengaged, pacemaker disengaged. Let's think of this. The person who's had to enter the house has got to be the bravest, okay? Because they're the one doing the most risk. They've got to get in there. And who the heck wants to go against an 84-year-old? Like, who are you? That's kind of sick. Anyway, let's really think about this. That person's got to get into that home. No one's discussing forced entry. Okay? So, and we know it's happening between 1:40 and let's say 2:30. We're assuming she's in bed. Savannah is heard. I've watched a lot of videos just to see now. And Savannah is saying on her interview with Hoda that something to the effect of, who takes her, you know, she's been taken from her bed without slippers, I believe, or without shoes. So for Savannah to say that after the fact, it actually must be the truth, okay? So let's just go with that. She was taken out of her bed. Okay, if she was taken out of her bed, though, how did this perp still get into the house if no one's mentioning any type of forced entry? We don't learn of that, right? Okay, so he's still got to somehow get into the house. So that's a little, I'm not getting information yet from Nancy on that, but let's just think about this logically as investigators. If there's no forced entry and Savannah says she's taken from her bed, okay, then there's something missing in there. Okay, so that chunk needs to be filled in. Let's go to the back door again, though. Okay. Could it be, like, she got home around 10 p.m. Now, a lot of people like to leave doors open, especially if they're screen doors, if they've always been safe in their neighborhood, if they know their neighbors, and if they need a cross breeze in their home. And this is what I know about my 84-year-old mom. She might not have dementia or Alzheimer's, but her memory's getting a little quirky. So could it be possible that Nancy just got home, was airing out the house? I use my planters to prop open doors. Why are we assuming the assailants did this? Okay, because I know a lot of people are kind of grabbing on this theory that they wanted to take her out the back door. But what's the point? If you look out her front door, there's no neighbor directly across from her that's going to be watching the front door. Look at that. Let's look at the back door. There's been some footage with Brian Enton, and he's put some footage on video from the back where you can see her pool. If you were to go through her yard, the only place you're getting is into a neighbor's. Okay, so if someone needs to come in the back door, I get that. It makes me wonder, is that how an assailant got in? Because that's as undetected. It's pretty dark out there, and they don't have lights at night. So it would be pretty easy to just hunker down in the back if you had to. Yet, I don't know, I'm just kind of feeling Nancy could have innocently propped the door open, let a cross breeze in. How do we know she wasn't watering those planters? Because I water at night, and if you're in the desert, wouldn't you be watering at night? Like anything, okay? And because she's 84 and exhausted at that time of night, I've done it a lot of times where I know I got to do something, and I'm like, oh, let me just stay here for a minute. I'll do it when I go to the washroom or whatever. And you're putting it off for a little while, and then all of a sudden you're maybe falling asleep and you forget it's there. So I don't know if I'm just not buying the backdoor stuff. And this is why I'm not buying the backdoor stuff. What's the reasoning? You still have to get her in a vehicle. You can't tell me you walked her down the street. You put her in a vehicle. And this is why I know you put her in a vehicle. The blood on her doorstep only goes so far. Why isn't anybody talking about where the blood drops is and stops is where she was picked up and placed in the vehicle? And this is one other thing that no one's talking about, okay? And like, how many investigators are on this? Okay, and this is not psychic information, okay? What I'm talking about right now is just me being an investigator, and I keep wanting to reiterate the difference, because if I get a mediumship message, I'm not changing it, okay? If I'm getting a vision, I'm not changing it. But speculation, we can look at it in a million different ways, and it's still good as an investigative mind to do so. Okay, so this is what I'm not buying about the backdoor theory. What is the difference? Have you seen the aerial shot of her property? Okay, because if you're coming out the front door where her blood was found, you're going to go through a little bit of a walking area. You still got to take some steps on the earth before you get to where the driveway is. Okay, it looked like it was a bit of a circular driveway. So when you really look at that from aerial view, the only other place that you're going to put a car, you're going to go around that curved area in front of the entrance, okay? It goes off to the side of the house, all right? And yes, there's a little bit of a driveway up at that point, at that one side of the house. Okay, so tell me, what would be the significance? Who the heck cares? If there's no lights on the street, you have perfectly planned this at a time of day, night, where nobody's around. There's no lights on in the neighborhood. You've already stalked her to know her routine, okay? So, tell me that. What's the difference of the car being parked at the side if you want to take her out the back door? No one's out the front to see her anyway. So, time is of the essence when you are kidnapping someone. So, if I'm a kidnapper, knowing I gotta make this swift, I'm just not gonna be mucking around at a back door that leaves me more exposed because it's taking longer to get her to where you could even have the car, okay? If you're struggling with her to get her to the front door, you could struggle her, you could drop her, you could go, whoops, sorry Nancy, I dropped you, nobody's seeing it, you can take all the time in the world, no one's seeing it, you can clean up any mistakes you're making. Why would you want to risk that outside? Not believing it. I'm not believing it. Okay, so let's go back to the front door and why I'm stuck on that. That's where the blood is. That's where the blood stops. That's where she's gotten into a vehicle, and it's the quickest and swiftest exit to get her off the property. So I don't know, I'm just not seeing it any other way right now, to be honest. Now, this is the other thing that I want to start talking about. I want to go back to the guy at the camera, okay, on camera for a second here. Okay, now I want to make sure I'm not skipping. I've made some notes, and of course, okay, this is what I am going to talk about. Okay, so let's go back to the fact that Nancy did tell me, okay, this is mediumship message, so I'm sticking to this, not conjecture. 2 people in the house, 1 on comms. That's what she's telling me. 1 on comms. So let's go back to the fact that phone disconnected, pacemaker disconnected, doorbell camera disconnected. Okay. If they were smart enough to disconnect all of those things, do Do you think they're carrying their own cell phones there that night? They're not. So, let's talk about if there's two people in the house that need to coordinate entering the house at separate times. You're not seeing them go in at the same time, okay? So, where has the second person entered? Maybe they're the one at the back door and they just came in that way, okay? And maybe they had to bring some shit in and that's why the door was propped open, okay? Because let's go back to the backpack. You have to detain her until your buddy gets there. You have to restrain her until her buddy gets there. Or, isn't that funny? Oh, Freudian slip. Why do we think it's a female in here? I'm not sure, but that's a Freudian slip that I would be looking at. Okay, so let's go back. They don't have phones. There's no way. Okay, if they know it's important to disconnect all of that electronic stuff, they're criminal enough to know not to be carrying their own phones. They didn't walk in together. So how do they know they're ready to do this? Are they just going, hey, at 1:45, it's a go? No, you gotta wait. The second person that's either hiding out back or waiting to bring the car. Somebody still has to bring the car, okay? Someone's bringing the vehicle. The guy that enters first can't leave Nancy alone. Once she is restrained and detained, someone's got to get the car. You're not risking her to be there. She could be screaming. You could be doing anything. But this is what came into my head tonight. And nobody's even thinking this. This is a Mexican kidnapping copycat. These are amateurs trying to go pro. When you go back to the video at the door, I want you to find that video because I discovered something last night when I was looking at it. And there is one time in the video that the person goes to the garden to get whatever that foliage is out of the garden, and he comes back and he's placing that, okay, and he's trying to block the view, right? Okay. There's one point you're going to see those arches at Nancy's house. Okay, the arch. I'm sorry, there's one. Okay, at the entrance. And you will, of course, distinctly see that perp at one point needs to come back through that archway. Now, everybody who's watched that video, who's a forensic investigator of any type, has noticed that this person is like totally taking it in stride. There's no nerves here, no jitters. There's just focus. Makes me think it's a Scorpio, okay? Focus, okay? Now, what you're gonna notice on that video, you can count the bricks that are in that arch. Hang on. Here's an average sized brick. I just happen to have a house made of bricks. I just went to measure my 5'7" body against a brick wall in my other room. You know, mortar's only so thick, and you know major bricklayers, they know what they're doing, okay? So they know how to lay mortar and brick. So you go back to that video of the assailant. And I want to know why no one's talking about this. Watch this. There's one spot in that video where that dude, pardon me, I'm not off camera, am I? Oh, I'm sorry. That dude, hang in with me. That dude goes to the garden. Then he comes back through those arches, the arch. And this is what he does. You watch, you watch. He all of a sudden, instead of standing up, okay, you can see that he's sometimes doing this, right? Okay, watch for the moment that he's actually doing this. He's gone horizontal, okay, as he's ducking through the arch. And I caught it last night, and I'm like, hey, wait a second. You know what I got psychically there? This is what I got. That guy coming in the front door, he's done time. Whoever that is coming through the front door, you know what he was doing? He doesn't want you to know his height, okay? Look how detailed he was, even in those gloves are really covering him, okay? So, they've thought of a lot here. They've got a lot of things covered. Okay, why did he duck from standing like this, okay, just ducking a little, all of a sudden he goes like this, okay? He's way down. Why does he do that? He knows if he gets caught on that camera precisely in the arch, you will, okay, there's perspective, right? He's over here, then he's maybe through the arch, but if he's in the arch, you're gonna see exactly, or close enough, what his height is, okay? So, I went to count myself against my brick wall, and my 5'7" gives me 22 bricks. So, you wanna go back to that arch, look how tall he is, because you can measure the average brick, you can get that, and you can get an approximation of height. But you watch how long he ducks. There is no reason. He already knows the camera's there. He already knows he's on it. He's already trying to find a way to cover it. So why is he horizontal? He's hiding his height. And how I got that psychically is all of a sudden, you know, when you will see, I think he is involved in robberies, this person. So for people to think, could it be a robbery, go wrong? Well, I'm sorry, you don't steal a body if you only want to do a robbery. Like, come on, nope. But I think that front door person has done time. And I just kept seeing, like in gas stations, when they know that you get ripped off a lot, they'll have that tape, right? The measuring tape right at the door. Right at the door. So wherever your camera, surveillance camera is catching thieves going out a door, you get to see, look how tall they are. And all of a sudden you go, oh, look how tall they are. Okay, and you've got that measurement. So that was a major hit that I got last night. That dude's been in jail. He's been involved in burglaries. And here's the other thing, like, this is a Mexican knockoff, okay? So I'm kind of thinking we're going with the Mexicans here, sorry to say. Okay, and even when you look at the skin color through that balaclava, I kind of feel that it very well could be Mexican. Now, here's the thing. Going back to the two people in the house, this is the next mediumship information that Nancy gave me. She has given me the specific message that when I am looking at the two people, okay, they're kind of in shadow, so I gotta say, we kind of see the other guy, but the other person is taller. Okay, the second person is taller. I'm seeing a distinct difference between their heights. Okay, they're not heads alike. You're gonna see a slight difference. So one of the individuals is a good few inches noticeably taller, and the other impression coming through mediumship wise on this is she tells me, with respect to thinking of their age, if we want to try to place age for these assailants, she is specifically telling me there's a generation difference. Okay? Now, mediumship difference, mediumship message is one thing, speculation another. Okay? Mediumship message, generation difference in age. Take it verbatim. Now let's go off and let's just think about it. Maybe it means father and son. Maybe it means uncle and nephew. Maybe it means that the assailants have no family connection, but you could still consider them generationally different. So that would say, what do you want to say a generation is? 20 years? So consider that there is a generation difference in their age. Okay? Now, what else do I want to just mention when I'm streaming here? I think that's one of the things that, going back to the comms. Okay, this is the other thing that she told me about the 2 people in her home and 1 person on comms. The 1 person on comms, she is telling me, was never in the home. And she also tells me, never in the home, and never touched the body. Okay? And when I'm getting this impression of the 3rd person who's on comms, I am distinctly seeing a male. And this is the impression that I'm getting about this male on comms. He is very smart to never be seen. So it is possible that he has orchestrated this, coordinated this on his own, and engaged these 2 people to act it out. Okay? All of these people are very controlled, very concise. In a theory, I still want to say the 2 people in the house are kind of amateurs, to be honest. But I got to tell you, they have been around crime, okay? They have been around crime. They are not strangers to crime. Yet, I still have to say that some of their crimes have gone undetected. So, one might have done time. The front door assailant might have done time. The others might not have. Okay, now going back to this idea that they must be smart enough not to have their own phones, okay? Because this is, you might not know this, but I just saw a really cool whodunit, true crime. And a woman was killed during a wedding on her property in the United States with several guests present for a whole weekend. And she just up and, was murdered, and they're trying to figure out who the heck really did it. This is what the police were able to do. And I can't remember the exact phrase that they called it. I'll just explain what it is, though. They didn't know who the heck could have been killing her at this wedding weekend, okay? And they had to be resourceful in how to figure out who it was. So apparently what the police did, they contacted Google, of all things, and there is some sort of geo something or other investigative tool that they can use, and they were able to do this geo grid of some type where Google was able to tell them in a certain geographic grid, okay, around that city that this occurred in, they were able to see every single cell phone that was active in that entire grid, well outside of the place she was murdered, well outside of that. I'm talking city blocks that went on and on. And what Google was able to do was locate every single phone. It was assigned a certain 4-digit number. It was only 4-digit number. And you could trace and track every single phone. And that's what they did. And they were able to discover it was a contractor that had come back to the property to get something he needed to pick up. And the woman was available. He entered, he raped, murdered, and that was that. So, looks like I'm gonna have to sign off in 5 minutes according to this live. I've gone way longer than I thought I would. But I just wanna say that having a cell phone on you when you're committing a crime, you have to be living under a rock these days to even think that that is appropriate. You are not taking your cell phone. You are not risking it. So in closing, because I got only a few minutes here, really start thinking about this. The knapsack that you can see in the front entry video, look at the shapes in there. I don't know enough about walkie-talkies. Could that be walkie-talkies? Could each of these dudes have had their own walkie-talkie? No one's around. It wouldn't matter if you heard a little talking. Nobody's around. So between them, is that a reasonable way that they communicated? And here's another thought. And this is only as investigative. This is not mediumship information, okay? I'm not getting a hit on this yet. I just want to say on an investigative, I need to question this. Everybody with this latest video, Nancy Grace and a few people have brought this video out on the 60th day. I just watched it before this 3 a.m. live, where they keep trying to figure out how Nancy gets out of the house. How do these two people get her out of the house? Wrap her up. You've restrained her. She's not fighting. They're saying that the house is immaculate. So she's not fighting and she's not pushing things around. So here's a thought. If you're Mexican, you know every type. I'm sorry, like there's a lot of kidnapping in Mexico. Kidnapping for money grab is a serious thing. Here's the other thing that's really serious in Mexico: human trafficking. Here's another thing really serious: to even go out to a bar, roofies. My neighbor got roofied in a bar in Peterborough. It was horrible. She was drinking out of a beer bottle, hadn't even left the beer bottle alone. No one had touched her beer bottle. She was on the ground in a very short amount of time, blacked out. Her friends literally had to pick her up off the floor, put her in her own car. She was totally out. Brought her home, and it wasn't until the next day that she woke up puking, and she had hours gone from that little bit of roofie that she had no clue how it entered her because no one touched her beer. So if you know you have to get an 84-year-old woman out of a house, or for any matter, I'm thinking about this now. If I was a kidnapper, and you gotta hope that your victim is, come on, they wanted millions of Bitcoin. So if they wanted that, could they have sedated her quickly? Could they have drugged her just enough to maintain silence, maintain the restraint, and prevent a fight or worse calamity in the house? Does that not make sense? Why not just sedate her? Why not? So give me your thoughts. Now, I don't know how lives work, so I do believe I gotta go off. And I hope this is being recorded. Okay, so I do have to, let me just see. Okay, so let's just see. Let me see. How do I keep, does anybody know about lives? How do we keep this live? Because I do believe that, how do we keep the live? Okay, I believe I'm going to have to sign off, and I really hope, would anybody care to share this in any way, shape, or form? Okay, sorry folks, I do believe I've got to sign off. Like I said, I'm very new at this. I don't know exactly how to sign off. But I would like to bid you a very good morning and good evening. I think I've been on an hour now. Oh my goodness. Okay, my friends, this was a long one, but I'm going to transfer some of this into my YouTube channel. I'll probably take it in small segments and separate. And if you have any of your own insights into this case, it certainly is a doozy. I do pray that Nancy Guthrie will be discovered in the desert and brought back to a distinguished resting place. And I really hope that it can be solved and resolved. So I'm going to say a very beautiful good morning to you, and over and